In contemporary ministry, Pastor Jamal Bryant is among the most vibrant and significant figures. He is well known for his community oriented emphasis, activism, and charismatic leadership. Pastor Bryant has made churches venues for social transformation and empowerment by using his distinctive preaching approach. Bryant's ministry attends to the spiritual, physical, and social health of his congregation and the larger society by combining May 21, 1971, saw Jamal Harrison Bryant born in Boston, Massachusetts. His house was quite religious growing up. Bishop John Richard Bryant guided Pastor Jamal Bryant towards both personal and ministerial development, rising to leadership roles where he oversaw congregations and developed church programs across geographical areas. Bishop Bryant had a long and successful career in the AM Church. His dedication to social concerns and voluntary work was well known. Bishop Bryant underlined the need of ministry as means of transforming people's life and supporting those in need. His son felt obligation and a calling to follow like values since he was dedicated to the church and the society. Jamal frequently observed as a young child his father's dedication to social issues. Steadfast faith in the Bishop Bryant's son must have benefited much from his fight for civil rights, equality, and justice, using the church as a venue. Young Jamal discovered from seeing his dad and listening to his sermons that ministry was about leading with integrity, compassion, and a dedication to serving underprivileged groups, not only about preaching. Church Reverend Cecilia Williams Bryant had equal influence on Jamal Bryant's spiritual path. One of Reverend Cecilia's strongest suit was her personal connection with people, using her sermons and spiritual guidance inspire. Reputable for her compassion and emphasis on personal development and healing, Reverend Cecilia, she helped the Bryant house to be a loving, faith-filled haven. Although Jamal Bryant grew up in a religious setting, he experienced a strong spiritual awakening prior to setting off a mission trip to West Africa. This trip allowed him to observe how faith might transform people's life in impoverished areas beset with systematic problems. Witnessing how faith might transform people's life, even in trying circumstances, caused Jamal to reevaluate his career path and consider his own calling to ministry. Pastor Bryant's journey in beginning his ministry at Morehouse College, a historically black college in Atlanta, Georgia, known for producing leaders who advocate for social justice and community empowerment. Bryant began his path Morehouse College's intellectual and social development environment complements Bryant's values and aspirations, so strengthening the faith and service values his family instilled in. Bryant studied Christian doctrine, the Bible's teachings, and the philosophical underpinnings of faith during his bachelor's degree in theological studies. Following his bachelor's degree, Bryant proceeded with his theological study at Duke University's Divinity School, where he graduated with a Master of Divinity, MD. The demanding academic climate of Duke's Divinity School is well known, providing pupils with thorough investigation of Christian theology, ethics, and church history. Bryant's time at Duke gave him the opportunity to develop his pastoral skills and learn more about challenging theological concepts, so arming him for the rigors of contemporary ministry. Bryant's theological perspective was greatly expanded by the Duke Master of Divinity program, which also helped him to grasp and share the lessons found in the Bible. Duke's varied faculty and pragmatic approach exposed him to many Christian points of view, which sharpened his thinking on the function of the church in contemporary society. His courses covered a broad spectrum, from the historical background from the Bible to contemporary applications of Christian ethics. Jamal Bryant developed a great deal of theological knowledge and sought more. He is now working on a doctorate degree after further study at the Graduate Theological Foundation. The Graduate Theological Foundation provides advanced theological education, allowing students to concentrate in fields of great significance to them. Ministry for Bryant offered an opportunity to grow academically in theology and learn more about the difficulties of religious leadership. His doctorate studies enhanced his capacity to examine theological concerns, so providing fresh ideas he could later apply in his lectures. While receiving a lot of theological education, Pastor Bryant also engaged in social activity and community service. Beginning his official ministry with a solid academic background and strong faith, he, starting Empowerment Temple and Church in Baltimore, Maryland in 2000, he aimed to assemble a congregation emphasizing spiritual development, social activity, and community support. His training gave the temple's initiatives a strong theological basis. Pastor Bryant aimed to launch a ministry combining modern methods of handling urban issues with conventional worship. At the time, Bryant noticed a demand for a Baltimore church capable of serving young people deprived of sufficient assistance. Empowerment Temple's basis enabled him to satisfy his congregation's both spiritual and pragmatic needs. In the first few years following the church's founding, his efforts to create a gospel-based institution ready to address issues including poverty, violence, and voting rights had a significant impact on the life of the people he served. Empowerment Temple and Church expanded rapidly, adding hundreds of fresh members. Baltimore's urban population connected with Pastor Bryant's energetic preaching approach and lessons of hope, resiliency, and personal empowerment. Often covering current social concerns, his sermons motivated his audience to quickly engage with their faith in their communities. Known for its vibrant prayer sessions and social outreach, Empowerment, one of the largest churches in the nation. The church grew mostly in line with Bryant's emphasis on meeting people where they were, both spiritually and socially. Bryant sought more people, and those who might not have gone to church otherwise, to join by using media outlets and public events. Empowerment Temple gained notoriety for its community-oriented initiatives and musical sermons, which enabled him to rise to be a significant player in urban ministry. By means of scripture and social action, convey a message of empowerment that appeals to those who wish to participate in a movement addressing their daily concerns, and so support spiritual development. The temple's growth resulted from more than just its vibrant offerings. It also resulted from the strong under Bryant's direction. The church launched several community outreach initiatives aimed at addressing some of Baltimore's most pressing issues, including homelessness, poverty, and young person empowerment. These initiatives were very crucial in supporting the church's goal of being a venue where faith and action collide, and in enabling the congregation expand in response to pragmatic as well as spiritual needs. Outreach initiatives by the church included mentoring programs for young people, financial literacy seminars, and job training courses. These initiatives were supposed to equip members of the society with the means and encouragement required to better their finances and way of life. Bishop Bryant's empowerment message transcended the altar. He concentrated on arming his members of his congregation with the means to end poverty cycles and create solid, successful empowerment temples efforts with nearby schools and youth. Groups were one initiative with significant influence. By means of this program, the church evolved into a refuge for young people experiencing difficult circumstances by offering for Baltimore's young. The Empowerment Temple did a lot. They compiled tools for both academic and personal development, after-school events, and mentoring initiatives. This emphasis on young empowerment complements Bryant's belief that the church ought to make investments in the following generation and prove successful. Strengthened Empowerment Temple's leadership in community action, as well as in faith-based endeavors. Another crucial aspect in Empowerment Temple's expansion was Pastor Bryant's media use. Bryant used radio, TV, and social media to disseminate the knowledge, since he saw the ability of technology to reach more people. Using media outlets, he was able to meet people all around the nation and even the globe, so transcending Baltimore. One of the first online broadcasts of Empowerment Temple services, digital ministers, and Bryant's inspirational lectures attracted listeners from many backgrounds. Empowerment Temple's modern approach to ministry enabled Empowerment Temple to interact with younger generations many of whom were active on social media and seeking means of including faith into their daily life. Bryant's social media profile enabled him to establish accessibility and community. Empowerment Temple attracted members and supporters moved by Bryant's approach to faith, social justice, and empowerment through digital interaction. Under Pastor Jamal Bryant, Empowerment Temple has grown and become rather influential. Demon made a distinctive minister with his charismatic preaching, community activity, and dedication to social justice. His strong sermons helped him to attract a sizable congregation, but also because he was committed to fulfilling his community's pragmatic needs and advocating systematic transformation. The church's explosive expansion demonstrated the potency of faith-based activity and the need of handling social as well as spiritual concerns. Bryant desired a church that changed the community and accomplished more than only worship. His emphasis on social and spiritual emancipation produced a paradigm of ministry still applied by faith-based groups all around the nation. Dedication to ministry and community action defined Pastor Jamal Bryant's life and career, particularly in his personal life. They also suffered and generated controversy, public infidelity in his marriage to Jamal Bryant, a well-known person who later joined the Real Housewives of Potomac. These issues draw much attention to Pastor Bryant since his public persona as a well-known pastor and his personal life collided. His personal relationships, as well as his reputation in the ministry, have suffered greatly in the public eye section of his life. Notwithstanding these challenges, Bryant's response to them reveals how he is still developing in faith, resiliency, and introspection. In part due to his notoriety in the church and public eye, Pastor Jamal Bryant's marriage to Jamal Bryant was quite public. In the social as well as the religious spheres, the Bryants were considered as a strong couple in 2002, but their marriage was rife with issues, mostly related to Pastor Bryant's adultery of his wife, which resulted in their 2009 divorce. Bryant's reputation suffered greatly upon learning of his cheating, since it not only resulted in his marriage to fall apart, but also made him subject to public criticism. Being a pastor, Bryant's personal actions were under close observation to ensure they aligned with the moral and ethical guidelines he advocated in his work. Bryant's situation was made more difficult by the divorce and the questions some of his congregation members and public viewers have about his suitability as a spiritual leader. Some people felt bad for Bryant since they saw the conflict between his religious leadership, responsibility, and personal issues. This focus highlighted how much people expect pastors and other public leaders to live by the values they impart. Thus, Bryant's personal issues became a major point of sensitivity in his career years following his divorce. When Giselle signed on a cast of the reality show The Real Housewives of Potomac, her former marriage to Pastor Bryant attracted a lot of attention. She candidly discussed on the program the issues in their marriage and the reasons she broke off the marriage. She frequently discussed in her open talks on the show her path of healing and self-worth, as well as her marital challenges. Many people thus started to show curiosity in Pastor Bryant's life. Suddenly, his personal life returned, bringing up their former relationship and his past errors. Apart from his career, the divorce personally broke Pastor Bryant's heart. In interviews, he has discussed how terrible losing his marriage was for him. During this trying period in his life, Bryant had to accept the reality about how he mistreated Giselle and their family. That was a tough lesson in personal development and responsibility. According to Bryant's thoughts on the years following the divorce, he has truly considered the consequences of his actions and come to see it. He still has to grow on his shortcomings along the road. Public negative comments made things even more difficult for him. He experienced a mix of support, disappointment, and judgment from many spheres of society during his personal challenges. He was coping not only with the agony of a broken marriage, but also the consequences of having his personal life publicly visible. This encounter let one realize the hard truth of life. Famous people who make mistakes have to rebuild confidence and clear their names, while still under public view. By being upfront about his past and emphasizing personal development and atonement, Pastor Bryant has worked over time to change his public image. Though constantly under public observation presents challenges, Bryant has used his position to discuss some of Bryant's supporters who respect his integrity and commitment to personal development have connected with him. For those who have made mistakes or failed in public, since he is ready to own his shortcomings and learn from them. Encouraging grace and self-improvement as means of making peace with the past, and Bryant has also concentrated on the value of second chances in his personal life and in his work. His honest approach has drawn followers who share his viewpoint. His time at New Birth over the past several years has enabled him to apply what he learned from his past in his new ministry, which emphasizes social justice, community involvement, and personal development. Emphasizing the transforming power of faith and personal responsibility, Bryant has worked to redefine himself by leveraging his background to create a ministry, addressing those going through difficult circumstances and seeking forgiveness. Apart from his personal issues, Pastor Jamal Bryant has been under a lot of criticism for opposing political and social inequalities on divisive subjects, including systematic racism, economic inequality, and police violence. Bryant has vocally and frequently expressed strong opinions. Various factions of people have both praised and attacked him. Although his advocacy of reform and justice has attracted a sizable following, it has also generated a lot of debate, particularly with relation to during his ministry. Bryant has supported well-known organizations and movements, including the Black Lives Matter movement, which attracted national notice, calling for more equitable treatment of Black communities and more law enforcement transparency. He has also advocated criminal justice reform. Many, particularly in the Black community, find resonance in Bryant's position on these matters since he represents the underprivileged. Many traditionalist and conservative viewers, however, have not overlooked Bryant's commitment to these causes, since they believe his political activity contradicts, as some detractors claim Bryant's activism transcends political and religious boundaries, and that his opinions make those who disagree uncomfortable. This argument on the interaction between faith and politics has exposed the challenges Bryant encounters as a pastor fervent in social advocacy. Bryant's comments on the function of the when Bryant argued the church should advocate social change, many were offended. While some considered this as a courageous and required call to action, others felt it may alien those who value spirituality more than social concerns. For Bryant, this criticism does not stop him. Rather, it serves to confirm his will to tell the truth to power. He has indicated in interviews that he thinks this. Beyond the pulpit, a pastor's responsibility consists in advocating justice and speaking out against social injustices. Although some members of the religious community have praised this point of view, it has caused conflict among others since some of them feel uncomfortable combining activism with faith. Another contentious topic was Bryant's remarks regarding issues within the African American community, particularly in relation to family dynamics and economic empowerment. His remarks on these subjects have drawn criticism from some who claim he supports stereotypes or uses too aggressive language, so polarizing them. Bryant has defended his strategy, contending that as a pastor, he should be able to have honest dialogue since significant transformation requires them. Notwithstanding these challenges, Bryant's commitment to activism is still very strong. He has responded publicly to debt factors by underlining his view that justice and faith go hand in hand. Seeing his activity as a kind of service helps Bryant present himself as a pastor who doesn't see a conflict between his faith and his will to make the world a better place. The legacy of Pastor Jamal Bryant is one of tenacity, fervor, and relentless faith in community loyalty. Notwithstanding all the difficulties he has encountered, He is dedicated to his goal and fuels his work by drawing on his experiences, so motivating everyone around him. His ministry, which emphasizes on empowerment and service, is evidence of his conviction that faith should be a tool for good in the world, and his work keeps a significant impact on the life of many people, providing a model of leadership grounded in love, justice, and resilience.